Good morning. As Stephen said, my name's Danielle. I run our wireless practice. I was very excited to see lots of the wireless clients still out on the dance floor with us till wee hours in the morning. I think T-Mobile was out there dancing, Sprint, AT&T. So we had some good wireless presence on the dance floor last night, which is always nice to say. So we're going to talk about the wireless industry today, which I think most of you would think is fairly going up and to the right. You look at things like the iPhone and the Android, and such great things happening in the wireless industry. But if you talk to the wireless carriers, they may tell you a different story. They're facing some different challenges, and most of that being because it's such a saturated marketplace. If I was standing here talking to you 10, 15 years ago, we might have been asking the questions, do you have a cell phone? Do you have a smartphone? But that's kind of old hat for them right now. Right now, it's more about driving loyalty, driving switching. Everybody's got a cell phone already. We see that. We see 46 million people going to the carrier sites each month. It's a lot of people out there shopping. So how do the carriers get their special offers out to you? So we see a lot about offers and advertising and display, spending a lot of money getting their differentiated product out to you. We also see a lot of complexity. Dennis will talk to us about some things that T-Mobile's done with their website and with their strategy. But how do you create a unique experience both for your customers and your products? And then we keep on having more and more products launched in the marketplace. There's over 450 phones in North America right now for you to choose from. And there's about 10 new launches each week. So there's a lot of complexity. And starting at the beginning of the shopping process, the next two slides come from some work that Compete did with Google, studying the wireless shopping process from start to finish. And this starts at the very beginning. So shoppers are open to switching. Here we see that at the beginning of the process, 42% said they had no idea which carrier they wanted to go to. They're open. They're open to change. They're open to switching. And especially from the device perspective, 78% didn't know which brand of phone they wanted to buy. So you've really got the attention of these consumers. It's anybody's ballgame. So where are they doing their research? Where are they going to get all their information to make these purchase decisions? Online, of course. So a couple other stats that came out of the research that we did with Google. Between last year and this year, when we did the study, we saw a 29% increase in the number of places they're going. So they're not just going to the carrier site and the manufacturer sites. They're going to blogs. They're going to social networks. They're going and reading consumer and professional reviews. So a lot more places that they're going. And as Dennis will talk to you later, the carrier has control on their own website. And as you continue to go out the rings of the sphere of influence that they have, that there's less influence for the carrier to be able to reach these consumers. Even if they're not purchasing online, so we see within Compete about 6 to 7% of the wireless purchases are made online. A little higher for upgrades, a little lower for new acquisitions. But it's not just about those people researching online. 63% of people that said they bought in a store had done their research online. So these are very educated consumers that are getting up to the checkout aisle. And then word of mouth comes in and plays a big part in this too. 43% of people that bought smartphones said that a friend or family recommendation had a strong impact on the phone that they purchased. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dennis, just showing a slide here of all the choices that these consumers are having. So I'm excited to have Dennis here today. As Stephen pointed out earlier, he's been to 6 of these summits. He's a great partner of ours. He's a great client of ours. And at T-Mobile, he's really become an experienced designer.
Thank you. So good morning. So what I want to talk about really is kind of an evolution that we're going through at T-Mobile. And I apologize, the slides are going to be fairly bullet-rich. So probably if there was a contest on number of bullets, I'm probably going to win here. So I won't read all of them, I promise. So when you start seeing some of these slides, don't panic. But it does kind of have a flow to it in the story. And this story is kind of how I'm driving the evolution through T-Mobile, which is in some ways, requires a story of what we're trying to do and how these pieces come together. This is kind of an old quote, but I always liked it, and it reads, ads get their attention, friends and family get their ear. It's not just the pitch, it's the position and promise of the product. the product and the company that rings authentic and true. And so that's always kind of in the back of my mind in the sense that it's kind of the sum of everything, and that's really what makes up your brand. And so what I'm going to talk about is kind of how we're evolving our view from kind of media-centric to more of a digital content model. We put together kind of a charter of how we were going to drive this evolution, and that charter has these 4 characteristics or 4 kind of points that we drive from. One, that we want to create a digital experience design model that's driven by customer need states. So what does the customer need from the experience that we're creating? We want it executed throughout the entire life cycle. The wireless industry is notorious for launching handsets one after another, and we launch and then we leave, move on to the next handset. So there's no such thing as sustainment until you have a problem with that handset, and then we pick you back up in support from a life cycle standpoint. So we want to kind of break that pattern we've had. And we want it to span the entire digital ecosystem. So you heard earlier about ecosystems. And so I'll kind of speak to that a bit later. We want to define the metrics at the life cycle stage versus the individual media level. So this view of thinking kind of evolved from always being asked, how are you going to defend the ROI on social media, which is really hard to defend when it stands on its own. And as I'll get into a little bit later, I thought it was a little ironic that as good marketers, we believe that it's the integration of all these different media elements that actually make your campaign stronger. So I always thought it was odd that when it came to ROI that we broke it all apart and asked the question as if that media was working completely independent of the others. And so we want to look at metrics and metrics of success and ROI at each life cycle stage and how we brought the collection of media and experiences together to deliver against awareness or consideration, purchase, onboarding, support, retention. You know, any kind of change of this sort requires a cultural, language, and tool and process change, not just internally at T-Mobile, but across all of the agencies that support us in the digital world. I'll speak to that. And then lastly, you know, does it make a difference? So how are we really going to know that this new approach of looking more from a digital content point of view than a media point of view is really going to work for us? So I'll talk a bit about that. So here we go. Here's the bullets. So web becomes a digital ecosystem. So, you know, I think that web, you know, it's a media, it's a challenge, or a channel. It's a little bit of everything to everybody. But the one thing that I thought was interesting is at the end of the day, it's all content. And we're a content-rich society, and the consumer is overwhelmed with content. And they're looking for a guide. They're looking for someone to help them sort through and filter all that content. And they're using the web in a lot of ways as a decision engine, certainly in our category. They're going to the web to figure out whether it's the right phone, it's the right plan, it's the right carrier for them. So, you know, they're digesting digital content to help make those decisions.